So what I'd like to do in today's session is I'd like to give you an introduction to Enterprise, and we're going to look at this mainly from the perspective of somebody who is a user of SAP Business One. So I'm going to make the assumption that you're fairly familiar with the capabilities of SAP Business One as an ERP application. As you know, SAP Business One is really designed to be complete, affordable, and it's designed to help you automate the business processes that you run inside your organization every single day, as well as giving you a really great platform for capturing information that you can then perform reporting, do analytics against. And again, of course, some of the things that provide that is the ability to use either Microsoft SQL Server or SAP HANA's in-memory database platform as the back-end engine for the SAP Business One solution. So we're not going to talk a lot about that. What I really want to do is help you understand what Enterprise is all about and what is the business challenge that Enterprise is going to help you solve. And you wouldn't believe it, but just this morning, I was actually on the telephone to a potential customer for Enterprise in the United States, in LA. And this gentleman was telling me exactly one of the challenges that he was facing right now that he believed that Enterprise could help them with. And that is the user interface. So many people coming into organizations today, then particularly newer employees, are coming in from, and let's, for the want of a better term, and I hate the term, and I'm going to use it anyway, let's call them the Facebook generation. These are people who are used to applications that work a certain way. They're used to applications that look a certain way. They're used to being able to interact with the applications that they want to use on a day-to-day basis with their choice of device, be it an iPhone, be it an Android device, be it an iPad or a PC. And when they want to use a PC, 9 times out of 10, they expect it to be web-based so they can walk up to any computer anywhere in the world and sign on securely and access the applications they need to do their jobs. Well, as we all know, that is an area that SAP Business One is still coming to grips with. We know that there is the web-based browser client, and we know that SAP have provided a number of mobile applications. But what we've done with Enterprise is we've looked at what those solutions do, and we've taken it one step further. So when you're looking at Enterprise, you're looking at a solution that comprises 2 main components. What you're seeing on the screen right now is what we call the Enterprise web app. Now, when you are an SAP Business One user and you become an Enterprise user, then you get, in theory, access to all of the functionality that I'm going to show you today in Enterprise. But of course, remember, if you're an administrator or a business owner, there are certain things that you, for example, might only want certain employees to have access to. You can narrow that down as well. So for example, if you set up a user on Enterprise and you only want them to be able to access their own customers, you can do that. If you want them to be able to access their customers and other people's customers, you can do that as well. But you don't want them to access the expense entry, or you don't want them to access service. Within Enterprise, you have that capability to lock the functionality down. Now, important point to note, one of the things we pride ourselves on at Enterprise is the fact that we are really taking advantage of the very latest technology. Now, SAP at the start of this year ran what they call their SMB Innovation Summits for SAP Business One. At those SMB Innovation Summits, the new leadership of SAP small and mid-sized business team stood up and talked about how important it was to be able to deliver an application as a set of microservices. So what are microservices? Microservices are fundamentally looking at the individual business processes that you run in your organization, and then being able to deliver in an easy to consume manner the necessary functionality in an application for you to be able to manage that business process. So when you're looking across the top menu of Enterprise, what you're basically seeing is this concept of microservices made a reality. Now, less so in the web app, because the web app gives you access to all of this functionality in one application. But when you start taking a look at the mobile applications, we'll have a look at those in a second, you'll see that each one of those mobile applications is delivered as a separate app. And there's some really, really good reasons for that, and I'll explain that to you. But let's take a look at Enterprise. A couple of things that you need to bear in mind first and foremost. When you log into Enterprise, it doesn't matter whether you have access to one company or 100 companies. When those companies are connected to Enterprise, they will appear down the side here of the user interface. So you'll see right now I've got two very imaginatively named companies, Demo Company and Demo Company 2. And you'll see when I swap from one to the other how quickly the system adjusts to representing the data just from that company. All right, so that's the first and most important thing, full multi-company support. And when you become an enterprise user, you get access to all of those companies. There is not a charge per user per company or per user per module. With Enterprise, you are looking at a standard per user per month fee of $9.95 US or €9.95 in the European Union. And of course, we have pricing for each of the different markets that we operate in here in Asia Pacific as well. But you're looking at a single price per user per month that gives you access to all this functionality. So when you first come into the system, you really want to go and take a look at the big picture, and that's exactly what the 360-degree view does. Now, unlike the Customer 360 and SAP Business One version for HANA, it's all about analytics and giving you KPIs and things like that. What we're doing is we are presenting you with a 360-degree view of all of the key components, all of the key business objects that you might work with. Your activities, your service calls, your opportunities, quotes, orders, and so on. And we give you two ways of looking at that. You can look at it from a My Transactions perspective. So right now, I'm only seeing my transactions, or of course, with one click, I can see all the transactions right throughout the entire company. I'm not sure if you saw how quickly the system adapted between those two views of the all transactions versus the My Transactions only. But the great thing about Enterprise is that we have designed it to always be context sensitive. So when you're looking at a screen, for example, I'm looking at the activities. What do I see? I see all my activities in the grid, which, by the way, I can filter just by using these filters, the same as you can in SAP Business One that you're already familiar with. You can push them out to an Excel spreadsheet, or you can use a similar thing to the enterprise search in SAP Business One, and you can search through those transactions. But of course, you can quickly and easily go in here and create a new activity. By the same token, when I'm looking at my sales orders, one click drills me down, shows me all of the sales orders that are currently in the system. But of course, with one click, I can go in and I can quickly create a new sales order. So now, a couple of other things to be aware of. The user interface, because it's web-based, we take advantage of all the capabilities that you have given to you by the web browser. What do I mean by that? Well, for example, let's say you want to maximize your available screen space. All you need to do is to simply go up here and click on what our developers actually like to refer to as the hamburger. It looks like a Big Mac because it's got 3 patties, but anyway, I can click on that and that will push that menu across to the side and get rid of that. And of course, I can bring that back at any time. The same token, when I'm looking at an order, let's say, for example, I want somebody to follow up on an order. Let's say I'm looking at this order here for Ada Technology. So let's call it up. Here's my sales order, and I want somebody to take some action on this. All I need to do is I can go and grab that URL up the top, and I can copy that and paste it into an email. And then when the person receives that email, there'll be a link inside the email. They click on that link, and assuming, of course, that they do have access to Enterprise, it will log them in and take them straight into this document. So again, the ability to take advantage of all that capability. Same scenario here. The My Opportunities view, I can grab that link, or I can take the All Opportunities view. And when I'm looking at all of my opportunities, for example, I can take that and I can grab that link as well. and I can send that to people. Makes it very, very easy to navigate throughout the entire system. All right, so that whole navigation process is designed to be as simple and as easy as possible. So then, for example, and I'm not going to go through each one of these modules in detail because we have additional videos available for you that do just that. But I'm just going to dive into one or two and then skim across the rest so you get a broad picture of what the capability is that's available in Enterprise today. But for example, if I click here on partners, this gives me access to the information that you're familiar with in SAP Business One as being your business partners. So I can see my customers, I can see my suppliers, and of course, I can also see all of my colleagues, and I can see the activities that they are working on inside Enterprise. So I can call up any one of those colleagues, and I can see how many activities they've got, how many service calls they're responsible for, and so on and so forth. And of course, I'm able to quickly go in here and just start searching. So if I wanted to pick my demo 1 user, which is just me, I can do that. Or for example, I can go in here now and quickly narrow down and look at my demo user 2. All right. So we'll just filter that out again. And I do apologize every once in a while. I just have to put the microphone on mute while I cough. I don't want to cough and splutter in your ear. So now I'm looking at my customers, for example, and you'll see we've got these little stars here. Well, just the same as you can in SAP Business One, you can flag these as favorites. So if I look at my favorites here, you'll see here are all my favorite customers and suppliers. But if I want to unflag somebody as a favorite, I simply untick the star, and if I want to add somebody else as a favorite, I tick the star there and away I go. Then of course, when I'm looking at that particular customer, I've got the ability to drill down and view all the contacts, the activities, the opportunities. You get the general idea. But of course, I can click here on company details, and I'm able to go in and quickly and easily see all the information, including, by the way, my user-defined fields that I have chosen to map that are in SAP Business One that I've chosen to map into Enterprise, because you'll probably be aware, just in our most recent release, we announced support. Well, we didn't just announce it, we delivered support for user-defined fields. So I'm able to go in here, and on any one of these records, I can simply click the Edit button, and here I am. I'm now in, and I'm now able to edit that information inside Enterprise. And as soon as I hit Save, that goes straight across into SAP Business One. And I know that's going to happen because you'll see across here, it's telling me that my SAP Business One system is online. All right, so a couple of other things while we're in here. Let's take a look at sales. One of the things that makes Enterprise so good for you as a customer and for your partner is that there are almost no services involved in deploying Enterprise. What do I mean by that? Well, traditionally, you go back to your Business One deployment. You spend a lot of time scoping. You spend a lot of time in the system design. You then spend a lot of time doing the deployment and training everybody, getting your data converted, and so on and so forth. Well, that's where all the work was done. With Enterprise, we plug it in, we switch it on, and it immediately picks up all of the configuration that's already been done in your SAP Business One system. So for example, when I'm looking here at my pipeline, what I'm seeing is all of the pipeline stages that have been set up inside SAP Business One. So as soon as that configuration is done there, Enterprise just immediately picks it up. And it's quite surprising to a lot of people when they see the Enterprise connection process, assuming your firewall is open correctly, and we give you instructions on how to do that, of course. The process of actually setting up Enterprise and linking it to a Business One company takes about 15 minutes or less. So people are very surprised at how quick it is to get up and running with Enterprise. And then, of course, once you're connected, I then have the ability to view all of the sales opportunities in the system. Of course, I've got all the quotes, and you'll see I've got this show only my data. So I can switch that off, and then it's showing me all the data that's in the system. I can see in this particular instance, I'm just looking at my activities. And you can see today, I don't actually have any activities. But remember, I'm logged in as demo user 1. So then same scenario occurs here with service. You've got all your service calls being logged. But there's a couple of other things that I want to show you, and I'm going to use the delivery functionality to give an example. You'll see here against service, we had this concept of the scheduler. We also have a similar screen inside deliveries. Now, if I go here into deliveries and I look at the scheduler here in deliveries, what this enables me to do is it enables me to go and select which of my delivery drivers I want to look at. And then I can see them here, all shown on my scheduling screen. Then it allows me to see all of the sales orders or the documents that have already moved into a delivery phase inside SAP Business One. And I can pick that sales order and I can go ahead and schedule that for delivery. So this one here for Werner Richter, I can pick up that sales order and I can say, you know what, I want that delivered at 11 o'clock tomorrow. So I drag and drop, and you'll see we'll get a little pop-up message saying that the sales order has been scheduled, and there it is. There is that sales order has been sent across and scheduled for Anthony Harvey to go and deliver on Monday, which was actually yesterday, on Monday the 10th. So we might actually want to drop that across here onto Tuesday the 11th. All right, so that sales order is now scheduled for 11 o'clock. And then, of course, with one click, I'm able to go in and look at that sales order, and then an additional click, I can go in and drill right down to the details of the sales order. Okay, so that scheduling capability is really, really nice. And then, of course, and I'll show you this in a second with the mobile app, what can then happen is that sales user can then go out and do that delivery and get the customer to sign a proof of delivery document, which then gets saved back against the transaction in SAP Business One. Another area that's really, really popular for many people with Enterprise is the expense entry. So you'll be familiar that with SAP Business One, there isn't an incorporated expense function per se. Now, you can pay your people their expenses, and how would you do that? Well, normally you might set them up as an accounts payable vendor. Okay, and then when their expenses go through the approval process, you create an invoice, and then you pay that invoice to them as if they were a normal vendor. But what's the missing link? The missing link is capturing all of the processes behind that expense entry, capturing the expense, capturing the coding of the expense against the right GL accounts, recording whether or not it's billable to a customer, and so on and so forth. These are all the different things that we've now added with the Enterprise expense capability. So, and I'll show you this again in a second on the mobile app, because I want to just go through these things first, and then we'll dive into the mobile app when I bring up my mobile device on the screen. But what you'll see here is you have a complete process for managing your approvals. So you can set up each of your employees, specify who their manager is, what the approval limits are, and then the employee puts their expenses in through the mobile app. They come in here, they can then review all their expenses. That's what I'm looking at here. These are all my expenses that I've submitted as demo user one. When I go in here into all expenses, this is now showing me my view as an approver. All right, so I can then go in and start approving those expenses. Hopefully that makes sense. And then once an invoice or an expense claim rather has gone through an approval process, what then happens is one of your finance team approves it, and then it becomes a purchase invoice draft. So right now, these documents are sitting here waiting to be pushed across into SAP Business One as completed purchase invoices. Hopefully that makes sense. So that's another area where we've really taken that functionality and expanded it out. Same with procurement. If you have people inside your organization, you want to give them access to the ability to be able to create purchase orders or create purchase requisitions and then push those through the purchase orders. Again, you can do that. Now, the beauty of this, of course, is that what you need to make this happen is, of course, the user has to be licensed for Enterprise, but they also then need to have an SAP Business One license. Now, they either need to have a full professional user, they could need to have a limited user, or if they don't ever go into SAP Business One, And this is the majority of scenarios. They don't ever go into Business One. They just use the functionality that is in Enterprise. Then all they need is a limited add-on user. All right? Because again, remember, Enterprise is not a replacement for the Business One client. But what it does, it gives you a simplified, mobile, online way to access that information inside your Business One to manage those business processes that are controlled and driven by SAP Business One. And then, of course, this happens in real time and it's seamless. So bear with me for 1 second, because what I'm going to do is I am just going to quickly come in here and I am going to dive in and I am going to open up another application, and that application is going to allow me to share my iPhone screen onto this screen. So please bear with me for 1 second while I do that. All right, so now you're able to see my iPhone screen. So let's go and let's take a look, first of all, at the Enterprise delivery process. So right now, all I do is I go into my Enterprise delivery app. Now, remember I said we talked about this concept of microservices. So each one of these apps is a separate app. People often say to us, Richard, why don't you bundle them all into one giant app? And here's the answer to that. You don't want to be carrying all of those apps with you if you don't use them. Why? Because Enterprise, our mobile apps operate both online and offline. So when you're operating offline, you actually have to have a subset of data traveling with you. So why carry all of that data with you if you're only going to be accessing a subset of it? So that's what we're doing here with the mobile apps. And that's part of the reason why we have each one of these apps separately. But in one of our future releases, sometime in the next quarter, or maybe the quarter after that, you're going to see us starting to do a lot more work with giving you the ability to mash those apps together. So we create what we call the concept of mashable apps. So you can take delivery plus sales plus credit control, mash them together into a van sales app, as an example. Although we're building our own van sales app, maybe a better example of that would be mashing together the service and the sales app. So the the business processes flow seamlessly between them. But anyway, let's go into our delivery app. And so you'll see when I go into the delivery app, it automatically brings me in and it shows me what I was looking at last. So I was already logged in, but I'm going to go back here and I'm just going to quickly log out. And then I'm going to log back in, and I'm going to log in as demo1 at enterprise.com. Now, remember, if you want to try out any of the Enterprise apps, this is the username and password you can use. To try out the web app, you can go to apps.enterprise.com. To try out the mobile apps, you can, of course, go onto your mobile device and go to either the Google Play Store if it's Android, or the Apple App Store if it's an iOS device, and download the apps and then just log in exactly the same way I'm doing right now. Now the user is, and the password is demo1 user. All right, and then I choose sign into Enterprise. We'll give the system just a couple of seconds to sign me in. And you'll see it's telling me right now I have no deliveries for the selected date. But of course, I can go in here and I can tap on my calendar and I can simply pick each one of these different days that I'm interested in looking at. And it will show me in here how many deliveries I actually have for that selected date. So if I was to go to the 10th, even though that was yesterday, you'll see there is a sales order that needed to be delivered on the 10th. But now remember, I'm able to look at not only my sales orders, but I can also look at my deliveries. I can go back here simply by clicking on, again, my hamburger, and I can choose between looking at my deliveries, or I can go in here and say, I want to look at my sales orders. So now when I'm saying I'm looking at my sales orders, I get a lot more information. So these are the sales orders that are sitting in the system right now. I've got my overview there. I can look at the details of the order. And you can see this is a fairly substantial order. So I can if I have the rights, I can go in and I can go ahead and start processing this delivery. So let's say, for example, I've actually just turned up out of Brightwater and I'm making this delivery. You can see they've actually got quite a few products. But when I got out there, they said to me, you know what? The model trim SEs, I only wanted one of those. So I can go in there and I can make that change on the fly. And then when I'm ready, I can ask the customer simply to sign the proof of delivery. Now, you've got customers potentially who want to know when your delivery driver arrived and when they left. You can record those details in here. So I can say I arrived and left, I was only there for a minute, so I record those details. And then I go in here into the signature, I spin my device around onto the side, which obviously you can't see on the screen. I sign it, I hit the save button. Oh, and by the way, maybe I had to leave the product with the guy next door. Maybe that was the delivery instruction. So I can, for example, I can just go ahead, hit the photo button. I can go ahead, quickly grab a photo. Obviously, this isn't a delivery, but I can grab a photo showing where I left the product, use the photo, that goes in there, and then I'm able to simply tap the deliver button. And what that does, that then pushes that transaction back inside SAP Business One, attaches those documents for me, and then we'll go through and update the order. Now, you probably saw if you have issues with items going into negative stock and so on, you've switched off negative stock, Enterpryze will actually manage and it will help you make sure that those business rules are consistently maintained. Let's take a look at another one. Let's take a look at our expense entry application. So here's expenses. So what the expense application allows me to do, and funnily enough, we use that at Enterpryze. I can go in here, I can choose my organization, which company do I have access to. I'm going to pick my demo company, and then I can go back here into my outstanding expenses. I can hit the refresh button. What that will do is that will quickly go through and retrieve any of the expenses that have been put into the system. It'll update my app. Maybe some of my expenses have been approved and they've been pushed through into accounts payable invoices, so I can expect to get paid for them. But if there aren't any, then obviously this is what I can see. Now I've got my outstanding expenses, and you'll also see down the bottom here, I've got my drafts. So expenses I'm partway through doing, I can keep them saved as drafts. But to create a new expense, I simply click on the plus key. I say it's a receipt. What receipt type is it? And again, all these are set in Enterpryze. So I can say, you know what, it's domestic travel. It was for a specific project, the 51 High Street project. I was actually spending British pounds, and it was £200, and it was for a airline ticket. So again, I can go in here and I can say, all right, what was my purpose? Air travel. And of course, same scenario applies. What I'm able to do is, if I need to, I can go ahead and I can quickly and easily take a snapshot of what the invoice was. So for example, if I've got my expense here, I can say done there, and then I simply go here, take a photo. There's the expense that I'm claiming. Take a photo of that. I say use the photo, and then I can nominate whether or not it's customer billable, but then I just say submit and submit again. It now pushes that invoice through. Now imagine, for example, I did not have access to the internet. What would happen is that would go in and it would get saved as a draft. All right, so rather than being here as an outstanding invoice, it would appear here as a draft. And of course, I would be able to go in and I could view those drafts at any time and then resubmit them. Or if I hadn't quite finished my expense claim, I could wait for that to happen and I could go through and resubmit. All right, so the beauty of this is that as soon as that is done, when I'm here in expenses, if I go back here to expenses, and I'm looking at my expenses now, what you're going to see is that that expense will automatically come through inside Enterpryze. So let's dive in there. There's the all expenses. And there it is. There's the expense I just created. You'll see it's the 200 British pounds. I can drill down, look at that expense entry, see who the supplier is. Well, the supplier is actually me because, again, remember, we use SAP Business One vendors or supplier records to pay the expenses to your employees. But there it is. There is a copy of the expense. It's currently waiting for authorization. I don't have the ability to authorize my own expenses. So as soon as somebody authorizes that, it goes through. So that's pretty much it. That's what I wanted to do, is give you a little bit of an overview of the different applications that form part of the enterprise solution and help you understand how each one of those applications works. Now, I only showed you 2 of the mobile apps, but you will see when you go in to the App Store that there are a lot more of those different apps. And the great thing is that we're constantly working on enhancing those applications, and we're building another couple of additional applications, again, as I said, but the main focus for us now is enhancing those applications, making them even better, faster, more usable for you. So that's it. That brings us to the end of today's presentation. Remember, if you've got any questions at all about Enterprise, all you need to do is go and visit our website at www.enterpryze.com. And my web browser seems to be having a little bit of a problem reaching that site at the moment, but you can go and visit www.enterpryze.com. There is a chat option down in the bottom right-hand corner that you're able to go ahead and chat with any one of our team. Of course, you can sign up for a free trial, and that's going to give you access to that same demo environment that I was just using. And then, of course, what many people like to do is they then like to try Enterprise with their own system. So I would encourage you to talk to your SAP Business One partner, or talk to us, and we'll talk to your SAP Business One partner and help get a demonstration system configured using your live data. The great thing about Enterprise is there are no add-ons to install. So Enterprise does not make any changes at all to your SAP application deployment. You can simply connect it, trial it. Most people do then end up continuing to use the solution, but at the end of the day, if you choose no, if you work out no, this isn't the right solution for me, we switch it off, and there's absolutely no sign that Enterprise was there. All right, so again, I would encourage you to take advantage of that. So with that, I want to wrap up today's session, say thank you to you for coming along. Again, all of our sessions are available, recorded, and available for watching afterwards. So if you would like to share this session with other people in your organization, please feel free to visit our website, take a look at our videos there, or you can visit my YouTube channel at youtube.com/DuffyRichard. You'll find all of the sessions that I do are published there, as well as on the Enterprise YouTube channel. So with that, brings us to a close. Have a fantastic rest of the day. Thanks and bye.